Previously in X-Men, with the Dark Phoenix saga well behind them, the X-Men have carved out a new iteration of their identity. Storm has been field leader for the past 2 years, in the minds of readers, with Wolverine serving as her support, her conciliary from a certain point of view. Kitty has proved herself time and again as a full-fledged member of the team, and both Colossus and Nightcrawler have increased their confidence in their abilities to be peak versions of themselves, pretty much. So, therefore, time to shake it up. Time for a new story arc, am I right? I am Jason Lapidus.
I'm Chris Sanagan.
And we are Group of 7 Comics. Welcome to episode 86 of our ongoing Tuesday night live stream read-through of the X-Men comics that became classic, as we read Uncanny X-Men 169 by storytellers Chris Claremont and Paul Smith, inker Bob Wiacek, cover date of May 1983. Chris, how are you?
I'm good. I'm excited for a new story arc, tell you that much.
Yeah, it feels like it's time, doesn't it?
Feels like it's time. Well, considering we left off, Professor Xavier was a jerk, but turns out in the end he's maybe not a jerk.
Well, that was a one-shot story, right?
But that was a bringing forth of this. Is Kitty on the team? Is Kitty not on the team? And so now we're in a place where Kitty is on the team. Does she have a short bit of leash there in terms of Xavier's pretty clear? Anything happens, you're off the team. But Kitty's now on the team for all intents and purposes.
Yeah. So there was a huge ongoing space saga they were on, and now it's sort of like, they made that kind of one-stop story, and then we're at the start of. It feels like it should be the start of something new, or maybe another one, a little bit here or there. Right. So we'll see. We'll see where it's at, and this issue will reveal the truth of it as to whether it is a new arc or not. We got a comment here from Jonathan. Jonathan, how are you tonight? Hope you're well. He says, guys, I was really looking forward to joining you for your show tonight, but I'm only at issue 153 for my read-through. Well, man, spoilers, the X-Men survive. So, join us, don't join us. We're not going to judge you either way.
And you've already joined us. So
you've already joined us, yeah.
Good point, my man.
But not the read part. I personally, I read X-Men comics out of sequence as a kid, and it didn't stop me from loving them no matter what. I find this to be a really interesting, actually, thing about like watching movies or watching TV shows where we are really fixated sometimes on like perpetuating continuity. And you got to watch this one first. How many kids, I can't even tell you, watched Empire Strikes before they saw A New Hope, or watched the prequels and already knew that Anakin turns into Vader before they even saw the mystery that was revealed in Star Wars Empire Strikes Back. I was reading X-Men from about issue 200 on, and then reading classic X-Men simultaneously. So I was around issue 200 and 100 at the same time each month. Mm-hmm. Spoilers, yeah, things happen. But I think that's, everyone can read it their own way if they want the suspense. I do not think these comics were really intended to be kept secret from each other. Like, they know that there's turnover, and that there are sort of new versions of their stories, and they, like we've talked about before, there's going to be a Magneto story, there's going to be a Sentinel story, there's going to be these things that fit in, these pieces like a Savage Land story, a whatever. Mm-hmm. And Claremont goes back to the well every few years for the same kinds of things.
Yeah, I'd suggest almost with every new creative team, but it's not really a new creative team. It's a writer with a new artist.
Yeah.
The continuity is there, and we go through cycles. And we've done the Magneto one a couple of times, and the Sentinels one a couple of times. Although I just Googled it, X-Men 153. Do you know which one that is off the top of your head?
It is no.
It's the issue we read. It's the issue now for something completely different. It's Kitty's parallel medieval fantasy story, right?
Yes. The bedtime story she reads to Eliana.
That's right. Right. So
that's
there you are.
One.
It's right, exactly. So hey, Jonathan, you've reading that one. Enjoy that one because it's
for sure, man.
It's wild. well.
Yeah, it really, that one caught me by surprise.
Yeah.
Can we dive into this issue, or at least some of the talk about it?
Yeah.
I remember I picked up this issue as a back issue recently, like maybe last week,
Oh,
and I
okay.
was showing it to you, I think, on screen on a conversation you and I were having, perhaps. And it was hard to tell what the cover was.
Yes.
And so it's interesting. I'm going to pull an image up here. I'm going
Okay.
to share my Photoshop, I believe. Let's see if I can get this done properly. Okay. So this is my Photoshop. It's currently open. You can see that okay?
Yeah, absolutely.
Good. Just come back to, there we go. That's all good. Okay, so on this screen, what you've basically got is the cover as we have it, the one that, got published. Turns out the one on the right this is the thumbnail for today's episode, by the way. The one on the right was rejected by the editors. Now, I have to just preface that, sorry. This is the way the story is being told. We're not in the room with those editors. We don't know what they actually say. But as it's been reported, is the editor rejected the cover because it didn't clearly enough show that he was on a subway platform. So Paul Smith presented this second cover.
Is the first cover Paul Smith as well?
Yes.
Okay.
So now that I've seen it, I'm like, what are you doing, editor? If that's a true story, to me, the one on the right, the original cover, is more interesting, more dynamic, more appropriate for the story than the one on the left, which does not do a great job selling anything.
No, and it took me a while to even zoom in. Is that a rat? Oh, that's a rat. The way it's in shadow. Yeah, it doesn't. And you know what? Just even as you said right now, there's not enough subway in it. I didn't even think that at all. I see the track there, but I
So I'm gonna just tweak it for a second. So I played with this thing, of course.
Sure.
This is the art that was presented somewhere. It's really low res, and someone colored it. I don't know who colored it, but I ended up getting hold of this, and then I couldn't resist. Once I had it, I made a couple modifications just for tonight. So I took, as you can see, the trade dress from this one. I just copied it and pasted it over here, and matched it up. And then I erased a little bit of the chain stuff so this chain could work over the title.
Right.
So just a little, did a tiny, 3 minutes of work on it for this moment, because I just thought this was so interesting to see how one person's point of view is different than someone else's point of view. And there you go. So this is what Paul Smith originally presented.
Interesting.
And was rejected. I don't know who colored it, and but I have seen the original art. I actually do have the original art handy. I can share that one instead. So let's stop sharing and then share something different. You ready? We're going to share this one. You can see that?
Yeah.
So this is a scan of the original art, or a photo of the original art. And it's pretty straightforward.
It is, absolutely. It's a lot more of an engaging cover.
Yeah, come on. We want to see the X-Men.
Interesting though, if you go back to the cover that was released.
Yes, sir.
One thing that stood out for me, just because the way the design is, and then maybe foreshadowing, maybe not, but if you look at the structure and design of Angel's wings,
very graphic,
and to
I know where you're going,
Archangel-y, right? Archangel, it's the sharpness, sharpness of it, because what we see on the original pitch and in the book is the fluffy angel wings, the classic fluffy white cloudy angel wings, and this is sharp and metallic.
Sure, they're active too.
Yeah, and so it reminded me of the character design of Archangel to come. Not sure when. Do you know when that design is released? I mean, we
Sure.
were talking the other day. It's a Walt Simonson design.
It is. He gets on X Factor. I'm just going to throw a number, and it could be right, could be wrong. I'm going to say 87, right around there,
Sure.
86, 87.
I can believe that. Why not? 1987. But anyway, that to me stood out, because again, we were talking to. I recently watched that episode from the first season of X-Men, the animated series, with Apocalypse and the Archangel arc, and that's what stood out for me from these wings design.
Yeah, I should have made that bigger for y'all because I can zoom in, of course, as I'm here.
This angel.
I don't think there's anything else I can say about it. I also dislike how in the published cover, his wings are, like I said, they're active, they're not limp. And the character, I like the idea that the character is limp, and it's the X-Men who are active.
Right. They're they're erect, basically. His wings are erect.
His wings are, and then I'm also distracted by the grossly oversized pipe and rat. Like it is, that is the graphic focus. And then the apparatus holding up Angel, I find the shape of it distracting too. Like I want to know what that is. Who made that? What is it made out of? It's like, how is there a subway trolley like push cart thing platform with that object on it? Like that reminds me of like Apocalypse's geometric ship, and I don't know. It just doesn't. It feels like it was an FU kind of cover. Like, you want the tracks? All right, I'm going to do everything else badly. I'm going to give you the tracks. But the one on the right is again, much more engaging. It actually has X-Men on it. And at this point in time, listeners, viewers, Angel is not on the team. Angel is not he's like a throwback character. He's not, his arc isn't important to the readers that are invested at this moment in time. If we're imagining, as Marvel would say, that their readers are, on a 2 to 3 year cycle, let's say ages, somewhere between 10 and 18. Angel, they know him as an older character, but he's not a beloved member of like the 5 guys on the team. He's not one of them.
No,
there you go. So I just thought I'd throw that out there as an interesting jumping off point.
Interesting bit of alternate history for this issue.
Yeah, a rare one. We don't usually get to do that kind of stuff, so I dig on that. There you go. Boom. Look at that. Anything else do you think we need to talk about before we go into this all the way?
I mean, yeah, you're right. The pipe and the rat and the drippingness is gross. I don't know what's going on there, but
yeah, it just isn't a clear.
It's just that's it.
There you go.
That's all I think. That's all we have to say on that one.
Yeah. Oh, and there's a new corner box head for Kitty Pryde.
Oh yeah, with the collar.
Wearing this outfit.
And the green.
I should actually go look. Is this the first time Paul Smith is the one who draws them? I'm just going to take a look through.
Okay.
I have my handy dandy essentials next to me, and
always good resource.
Yes, it's fantastic. I'm a big fan, and I often debate which one should I read instead. This is the first one. So issue 168, which is of course the kitty on the cover in the spotlight. It has the Dave Cockrum, one of them as a gang, all running forward. You know what I'm talking about?
Yes. Yes. Yeah,
that one.
Yep.
So this is the first issue that has Paul Smith's corner box heads. So yay, Paul Smith, way to go! Different style for each of them. Cyclops is not even on the team.
No,
but he remains as a member of that unit. Kitty's in this weird, or Sprite is in this weird costume, and it's nice. Like Cyclops looks kind of cool. Colossus looks kind of gentle. A little smile on his face. Hello, Cyclops.
This Colossus. Is what costume change is this for Kitty now? Like 4 or 5?
I'm losing track.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah, she's like the Wasp of the X-Men, in that her costume just changes.
Does that happen with Wasp?
Oh my God! In the Avengers? Oh my God! Every different artist just go through as many as they want.
Huh.
And I would say that's probably because none of them are great. You might have your favorite, but when something really works, you keep it.
Sure. I mean, well, Nightcrawler, Colossus, Storm.
Yeah.
Right?
Nightcrawler's never needed an update.
No.
But anyway. All right, sir.
Shall we?
We shall. Not that I want to, but I think because of what's coming, I should read the first character.
You're more than welcome to.
Thank you. Because there are going to be some scenes where it'll be like all you doing 4 voices.
I know.
So I'm just trying to pace it out.
That's true.
There you go. All right, here we go, dude.
Here we go.
Warren, I'm home. Sorry it took so long. I got held up in traffic. This was the kind of day I wish I had wings like you, so I could soar above the crowd. Any calls or mail? Warren? I called to tell him I was on my way. He can't have gone out. Maybe he's asleep. I'm going to go into the elevator. The weird future tube elevator in our apartment?
Wealthy person elevator.
Wow. Cool. Yeah. But this reminds me of like the kind of elevator that would be in a toy play set. That would have on the back of it like a tab that you slide up the elevators.
Like, why is there an elevator in the Ewok village? It's like, well, because how else are they going to get from the ground floor to the top? Yeah.
They're Ewoks. I'll check the bedroom. What? You molting lover? So for those not in the know, birds and reptiles go through a process called molting, where they will, shed skin, or in birds' case, replace their feathers with new fresh ones.
Right. And it makes it sound either she's, depending on how you speak the line, almost like he does, and she's kind of like speaking to fact, or she's kind of joking. But, they did that once, speaking of the Wasp, they did that once, a great scene with, I think it's the Ultimates. In the Ultimates, with her relationship with Hank, and they reference kind of like a buggy thing she goes through.
Right.
You know what I mean? And he's like, it's disgusting, Jen, and this and that. And it was kind of like a monthly discharge.
Sure.
All to say. I thought
it was part of their toxic relationship.
It was part of their toxic relationship, yeah.
Remember he sprayed her with bug spray?
Wow.
And she was like puking while hiding under a desk or a piece of furniture or something. That was
Michael Douglas. Not a nice guy.
It wasn't.
It wasn't Mike Douglas.
No, it was not. There you go. Okay, turn that page. Blood. Warren, the lights. Someone's downstairs, but who? How many? What do they want? And they're between me and the doors. I'm trapped up here. I hope they haven't cut the phones as well. But I like this bit of the time period for the technology here.
Mm-hmm.
So again, for those not in the know, in 1983, a push button phone was already pretty special. Most of us were still using rotary phones, and there were touch tone phones around, but it wasn't as common. And even if you had one, most of them were on a pulse setting where they would still pulse out the number even though you push the button.
Sure.
But a rotary phone was very common in middle class homes. Anyway, so there's a funny thing here about these buttons. By the time the police reach me, I could be dead. I need someone better. Thank heaven for this automatic dialer.
Mm-hmm.
I've blanked on his number, and my phone book's in my purse. Come on, Professor, be there. Answer me, please. Footsteps. So the numbers that are there, you can see a couple names. Of course, Prof. Xavier is first. Hank McCoy is second.
Yep.
And then the rest, I don't know offhand. I wonder if they're funny references to things.
I was thinking that. I was trying to figure out, there's a St. Cyr, there's a McIntyre, Virgo, White.
Right.
I was trying to think if they meant anything, but I couldn't. Nothing came immediately.
Are they members of some band from,
Right. It's the kind of thing we would put in our comic,
Yes, that would be a lot of fun. So
the 4 members of Sloan or something,
The members of Sloan. Right. So this could be the members of, ELO, but not.
Exactly. Yeah. I'm surprised she didn't use a dialing wand.
Right. I love this. So footsteps. Okay. Charles Xavier speaking, and you see what book he's reading? It's hard for you to read that.
They say Marvel?
It says Marvel Universe.
Universe. Oh my goodness.
That's just a fun little deep cut.
That's a fun detail.
Yeah. Hey, Trevor, how are you? 1/6 Shooter is here. Love the way they colored this to portray a dark moonlit room. Absolutely. This is always some neat comics language. When you're limited to your 64 colors, how you use those 64 is the sign of creativity. And it becomes like a language for us. Like, we know that this is in the dark, and we become more literate, when we have read enough comics, we get those changes. It looks really good almost every time, especially on the newsprint.
Mm-hmm.
Professor, it's Candy Southern. I'm at Warren's and my apartment. Sorry, I'm at Warren's in my Manhattan penthouse. He's been attacked, and I think it's about to become my turn. Oh!
I am Sunder. I am here to hurt you.
No! So, a quick art note. We've talked before about how Paul Smith keeps his lines to a minimum. Like, he keeps his, like, the textures of things pretty smooth. He doesn't have extra lines on everything. And then you see an example here where he is probably indicated with pencil line to Bob Wiacek, the inker, like, no, we're going to texture up this guy's skin.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to show skin that is like aged and not in good condition and covered in spots and bumps and creases and crevices and wrinkles and whatnot. And it's when you don't overdo it, a little goes a long way. Like, this really communicates this guy's skin is not okay.
Sure does.
And you don't have to overdo it. So it's pretty good.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Yeah, it makes it look gritty, as Jonathan is saying, for sure. Catacombs.
And now we get something that, well, we got a little bit of, was it in the last issue when he shows up with the miniature version of himself?
Yeah.
Tactfully placed in front of his genitals?
Yes, his Banff doll.
His Banff doll. Her Banff doll, I guess.
Right. I like that Nightcrawler, among other characters, but Nightcrawler has a sexual side.
Yeah.
He's not just a sweet superhero, swashbuckler.
Yeah.
He's he's a lover. I love it. Meanwhile, overlooking Central Park South in the apartment rented by flight attendant Amanda Sefton.
Here's to us, life and joy forever. Speaking of which, when are you going to give up your wandering ways and settle down?
You sound like my mother. Besides, I could ask the same about you.
Go ahead. The answer may surprise you.
Why, Kurt Wagner, are you planning to make an honest woman of me? Nightcrawler, emergency situation.
So I laughed so hard when I read this because, okay, so let's set up a world where, Xavier can telepathically call upon his charges when and wherever. But there are times where intimacy and privacy, this is a great moment. Like, does he ever call them when they're like on the can?
Sure.
Does he ever call them Scott and Jean were like, not now, creep. Like, I just feel there should be some boundaries set up.
Yes, I agree with you. Brick Something's giving you some shout outs for your awesome performances, Kurt Wagner. And it's well deserved. I also love it as like a voice in his head telling him, like, she just says, like, hey, are you about to propose? Are you gonna make an awesome woman of me? Xavier's like, emergency, don't do it, Kurt.
Yeah.
She has herpes, Kurt.
Red flag, Kurt. Red flag.
I love that moment. It's just too funny to read it like with alternate purpose. It's very funny.
That's right. Yeah.
Responding instantly to Xavier's telepathic directions, the German-born X-Men teleports. Kurt, straight up, high above the building to get his bearings, then cross town to within sight of his target, before finally materializing on the skyscraper wall itself, outside the penthouse. Damn right. Like, seeing Kurt finally do this move, like, yeah. I have a fixed spot where I go, figure out what I want to do, and then boom, 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 get to my location.
Yeah, he almost does kind of like a Spider-Man. That's very much that pose in that middle panel there, where he's like, how can I get there and employ my abilities, because I need to visualize where I'm going. So logically, let me get up high in the air. I'm not worried about falling because I'll bamf out of there. I can see where I'm heading. I loved this sequence.
Yeah, me too. And it's like three ports, and I'm not to spoil too much. He's not going to complain that he's tired now.
No,
like this is within his ability.
Right. That was a common. It was the exhaustion of multiple ports.
Yes, and now he can flex and he can do this, and he's awesome. Like I love this version of him. Anyway, cool. Let's keep going.
I forgot how cold it is, and I'm soaking wet.
And naked. Nightcrawler, I sense Angel's thought patterns nearby and below you. They are sluggish. The lad is barely conscious.
I see him, sir. He's being carried into that subway entrance. Professor, what about Candy? Is she all right? Zim to fair Candy! Got her! But she's in a bad way, and I'm not much better. I have to get somewhere warm and get on some clothes on before I freeze to death.
In the blink of an eye, Nightcrawler retraces his route home.
I hate to burst in on you like this, Liebstein, but it's an emergency.
Kurt, no. Don't you dare.
So those two panels, I mean, first of all, is super alluring for a comic book, right?
Yeah.
Like, she's one pencil line away from seeing the bottom half, right?
Yep.
And then he needs to warm up, so he puts her in the hot water, which I like. But
sure.
I mean, again, this whole sequence is so much more of a mature Nightcrawler.
Yes.
Which we don't see enough, have not seen enough of up until this point. And so it's a real kind of like nice surprise.
We've got 2 full pages of Nightcrawler in action naked.
It's true.
Think about it that way. Yeah, this feels like a little bit more like this is a young adult comic as opposed to a kid's comic.
A little bit, yeah.
And that college kids could read this and be like, it's engaging.
Mm-hmm.
It feels like the book has aged as we've been reading it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
All right.
Trevor says he remembers these 2 panels as a kid. This book has a few notable panels in it that I remember as well, but for reasons we'll get to down the road. Uptown, fronting Central Park, stands the Hellfire Club, probably the most exclusive such establishment on Earth. Among its members is self-made billionaire industrialist Sebastian Shaw. Like the X-Men, he is a mutant, gifted at birth with extraordinary abilities that set him forever apart from the rest of humanity. Unlike that team of outlaw heroes, however, he has little interest in using those powers for his race's benefit. As leader of the club's ultra-secret inner circle, his ultimate goal is nothing less than the dominion over the entire world. The world! He considers the X-Men the deadliest threat to that ambition. Time and again, he's tried to eliminate them. The most recent failure nearly cost his life, an ordeal from which he's only just recovered. But Shaw is a patient man who learns from his mistakes. He can afford to lose. The X-Men can't. I wonder what was in the script for this, by the way. Like, if it was, give me the panels of him walking from outside to the secret chamber, or is it just up for grabs? I mean, I wonder who chose these things, but I like the idea that he walks through and then opens the secret, bookshelf door to his sex dungeon. I mean, to the basement.
Of course.
And I dig that. I just wonder, aren't there guards and stuff? Like, aren't there?
Well,
I don't know. Aren't there other people around other than the woman who takes his coat
or whatever? Yeah.
Yeah. I wonder.
And the other thing too is when he mentions, just for folks out there on viewing, that he talks about an ordeal of which he's just recovered. That was the last time that Frost and Storm switched minds, I guess, and bodies, and he gets hit by a lightning bolt, and
I
like
couldn't remember what it was.
blown back. He gets like fried.
Okay.
But his mutant power, saves his life. But he was out. He was, and at that point, it's Emma Frost who has him, and they're like, how is he? Basically, he's like, he'll recover. But yeah, he was out.
Right.
Yeah.
I couldn't remember what it was.
Yeah.
I think Jonathan agrees with my assessment of that room. And eventually, he believes they will lose, that is. Your summons was urgent, Tessa. What's wrong?
Come down here, Sebastian, and see for yourself.
My whole angling of this issue, by the way, was just to make it so that you had to be Tessa. And I got to hear you do that voice because I have
it's a come hither. I know. I'm really good.
Yes, this is special.
Yeah.
Emma Frost.
The White Queen arrived an hour ago, desperate to see you. She was afraid, Sebastian, almost terrified. I've never seen such emotions in her. It was unnerving. She refused to tell me why her warnings, she said, was for your ears alone. I had a strange feeling she was trying to protect me.
She is a telepath. Why didn't she simply establish a mind link?
Perhaps some force prevented her, the same that struck her down.
Explain.
In mid-sentence, she collapsed. I examined her and diagnosed her condition as total catatonic schizophrenia. It was all from reality, so complete it borders on living death. Her psionic defenses were formidable. To overcome them so quickly required antagonists of phenomenal strength and skill.
The only telepath who fits that bill is the founder of the X-Men, Charles Xavier. But I find that hard to believe. He's too high-minded and honorable.
Why go to all this trouble, Sebastian? If someone wanted the White Queen silenced, why not kill her?
Too quick, Tessa. Too merciful. For Emma and us. This way, our foe demonstrates how powerful he is, how helpless we are against him or her. That's interesting.
Sure is.
Interesting. For the briefest instant, fear flickers in Shaw's eyes, and throughout the catacombs around him, unheard by any living soul, laughter resounds, mocking, malevolent, triumphant. Ooh, don't move forward yet.
I won't.
Just a quick note. This is a conversation just, I guess, for you and me specifically. See the way the shadows on those bricks?
Sure. Like even that very last panel?
That last panel.
Okay.
That's what I wanted to do, but didn't know how to do. In, I think, issue 4 of Group of 7.
Oh, sure.
Where the scene where like McCrae is in the doorway of a tunnel.
Yeah.
And he's just like transitioning back from his memory of the South African War.
Mm-hmm.
And I had him in the doorway of this time. Yeah, and I was trying to like draw shadow on bricks, and I overdid it. I drew more than I needed to. I'm like looking at these. I'm like, that's all I needed to do. Just some good, proper feathering. Like, don't overdo it. But now I know. So you learn.
Yeah.
There you go. Oh, yeah. Group of 7.
It's definitely given that Group of 7 secret catacombs vibe here.
Yeah. I'm so much more, again, I've said before, so much more prepared now to how to draw those catacombs now that I've done so much more reading with an eye looking for them. And anyway, Jonathan says, just confirm, yes, Shaw was last seen being almost killed by Emma Frost, whose consciousness was inhabiting the body of Storm. Great issue. There you go.
Mm-hmm.
There you go. I believe that was Bob McLeod on pencils, but I could be wrong.
Could have been.
Brick Something says, love the allegory of Morlocks being mutants who can't assimilate. Oh, you're spoiling. Just joking. Who can't assimilate into society. While on the other end, there's the wealthy, beautiful Hellfire mutants, not just walking among, but lording over it. Yeah, there are so many fun allegories to pick out of these comics. That reminds me of one of the things that I know that I have sometimes I have trouble with is like too much backstory on process. Like we know sometimes too much about what the creators are doing or like what they're trying to say or this or that. And I think one of the things I find really appealing about reading this along with you is that you and I are taking almost everything as to what's on the page.
Right.
We're not I mean, once in a while we get to hear a story here or there about like what Claremont was trying to do or what was going on, in the offices or what some of the talk was. But I really like the comics to speak for themselves. And if something isn't there, like if one of the art pieces doesn't appeal to me and I say, oh, that brush doesn't seem to match this. And then someone else will be like, yeah, but this artist was doing this, and you don't know. Like, well, what was on the page didn't work. Like for this reader, I'm trying to get as close as I can to being the 11-year-old, that would have read this at the time, and taking things at face value and like just trying to interpret it without context, letting the page speak for itself. And it's a fun like mental exercise, I find, to think about it.
Well, I mean, and it removes, and you're right, it is an exercise because it's never perfect, but it's certainly attempting to remove another 40 years of fandom and analysis and history and reprints that come after this, right? So it's trying to come at it really as clean as possible, as fresh as possible,
right?
And kind of trying to enjoy it for what it is, for sure.
Props. Thanks, Jonathan. It was Bob McLeod. There you go. Amanda's apartment later that evening. In the same burst of thoughts which alerted Nightcrawler to Candy's plight, Xavier summoned the rest of the X-Men and sent them after him. Candy recovered quickly under Amanda's ministrations. Careful.
Phrasing.
And I just missed a syllable. It's okay. And was soon able to relate what little she knows of the night's events. I think it's suspect, by the way, just even staying in the city. Like, there's trouble, back to the mansion. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Well, let's stay somewhere in the city, and I think they're vulnerable. That's the strategist in me wants to get into a defensive position.
Sure.
Trevor 16shooter says this was like the third or fourth issue of X-Men I ever read, though it was out of order from the first, which was 173. Yeah, sometimes we trade comics or find one at a friend's place or whatever, and I like that. Part of the way of getting into comics was getting them out of order and starting to piece together some kind of ongoing narrative. Like, it was the same growing up with syndication and syndicated TV.
Right.
Like, you never got to see the first episode of something the first time you saw the show. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, you never got to see the pilot first.
Yeah.
I remember, like, famously for me, G.I. Joe.
Mm-hmm.
Monday and Wednesday nights, I had programming after school. So my first time seeing G.I. Joe was Tuesday night. So I missed the opener of, like, the Masque device. And then catching up again on Thursday. Like, I didn't get to see the first episode of the Masque device for years. Mm-hmm. It was like this really, really exciting thing. And now I watch it on YouTube all the time because it's just my favorite thing from 1983 other than Return of the Jedi.
Of course.
Yeah, there you go. All right, sorry.
It sounds awful, Candy.
It wasn't pleasant, Kitty. When Sunder grabbed me, I thought I was dead. The room was so dark, his features covered by rags. I'm afraid I never got a decent look at him.
For at least, achoo! You saw which way they went.
You sound very miserable yourself, Tovarish. Perhaps you should be in bed.
Nothing I like better, Colossus. But Wolverine off to Japan, Lord knows why. We're short-handed as it is. You can't afford to leave me behind. One of Amanda's miracle potions should put me right.
For an explanation, see Wolverine #1.
So there you go. Right?
So this is where that would fit in continuity.
That's
interesting. We read it earlier for other reasons. It was more closer to its publication history, but in continuity, this is where it's supposed to fall. And of course, it will play a much bigger role in a couple issues once sort of his 4 issues plays out. So just a plug, if you haven't watched our episodes where we read the Wolverine Limited series, check those out. I should probably put them in the link. I'll put the links for those episodes into this one, which I will do later because I don't want to do it while I'm doing that.
Excellent.
But yeah, definitely check those out. Those are great comics if you haven't read them. And there were fun episodes to do with you. So check those out.
They were a blast. There's lots of Wolverine with you and I trading back and forth.
Oh, yeah.
Because there's just so much Wolverine.
Tons of Wolverine.
Tons of Wolverine. I also.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, I kind of dig this cloak thing that Amanda's wearing.
Yeah.
Because in previous, again, so if you come to this issue cold, you're kind of like, what's going on? In previous issues, she's been referenced as having magical powers, or her mom's a sorceress, or she's a sorceress.
Yes, her mother is a witch.
Right. Yeah. So I like how it's incorporated here, where she's not in. Candy's in like a robe. She got out of the bath kind of thing, and Amanda's in some kind of like cloak that's clearly has purpose.
Yes, like, even choosing the color purple,
right,
as opposed to making it something light. Or something, red, like putting it in the blues and purples adds a level of mystery to it, which is a really good choice.
Mm-hmm.
And she's drawn really nicely too.
She really is.
Yeah, neat looking character. I like that a lot. And then there was the talk about her ministrations, like, so she's already administered something. She is in the like.
A healer?
A healer, yeah. She's doing something where, she's thoughtful about that. I like that. That's already in the works, lover. Storm, I'd like to help if you'll have me. Your offer is appreciated, Amanda. I would rather you stay with Candy, in case Angel's kidnappers make another try at her.
Is that Colossus speaking?
Good question. If they do, I guarantee them some rude surprises. That's Candy's hand in front.
Or is that meant
Colossus?
to be a?
Sorry, Amanda's hand in front of Colossus. That's what that is.
Yes. So it's meant to be a one image. Is it?
Possibly, but if it was, it's not perfectly executed because we have to question it.
Right. Yeah.
But moving on. Professor, can you read my thoughts? Perfectly, Storm. We are ready to proceed, but our task would be far easier if we had a tracker. Since Wolverine is unavailable, might we use Rain Sinclair? In her lupine form, as Wolfsbane, she would have no trouble following Angel's trail. I understand your need, Storm, but the New Mutants are not X-Men, nor are they meant to be. They are students. They do not go on missions. You can barely see my head in this frame, but I guarantee you it is there. It's in what's called color hold, but it is there. Strangely, they probably should have colored the space in his head pink, to offset against that other stuff. But anyway, the mini Cerebro I gave you is programmed with Angel's specific brainwave patterns. It should be able to lead you to him. I distrust machines, Professor. I will not place these children at risk, Storm, and that is final.
So one thing I like about this exchange is Storm's immediately thinking strategically. And, right? Like, she's like, we don't have a tracker. We have a tracker. Can we just use her? And I know, and I mean, Xavier's doubling down on it, because of his fear of the New Mutants. I guess at this point they're all having their own adventures, but the fear of harm coming to him. This is part of the Kitty conversation, but I kind of like how she, as field leader, just immediately it's like, we need a tracker. Can I use Rain?
Yeah,
that's great. There's no hesitation.
Yep, and it is definitely connected to like those ongoing narratives. It's not out of character for Xavier to say no.
No, exactly. Yeah,
and it's not out of character for her to ask.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that was really good.
Mm-hmm. You're staying behind too, Lockheed.
Oh, sorry. Before we get there, Brick Something says, which came first, this Kitty costume design or Marionette from Micronauts? They caught the same vibe. Great question. I think Micronauts comes first.
That's what Jonathan suggested. Micronauts design for Marionette came first.
Yeah. So that's like, Michael Golden or something a couple of years earlier. There you go. Mm-hmm. David Cutler says, hey, guys, 169 dudes.
Wild Stallions.
Hi, David. To me, my ex-friends, says Jason Lowe. How are you, Jason? Hope you've had a good day and glad you're here with us.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, go ahead.
You remember when I asked your mom to the prom? Shut up. Sorry. You're staying behind too, Lockheed.
Do you want to do Lockheed's voice? I think
Sure.
you enjoyed it before, didn't you?
Hush up. Don't you growl at me, you dragon, you. I'm not doing this to be cruel. I want to help Amanda protect Candy. Will you do that for me, please? There's a good Lockheed. Was that da or niet, Katya? Yes or no?
If you ask me, pets should know their place and do as they're told.
I wonder if Lockheed feels that way about us.
Wow, Roro. Do you really think he's that intelligent?
Who can say, kitten? We know too little about him, not even if he's full grown, an infant, or anywhere in between.
He's been fed and everything, Amanda. He shouldn't be any bother.
Don't worry, kitty. My mom taught me all about the care and feeding of dragons. Good luck, X-Men. I really like that drawing of her too. And there's another time where Paul Smith just rocks the hair.
Yeah, she's really quite like alluring. Like she's quite like fetching as an illustration. You know.
Yeah, he draws really great characters, and even if you just in the background shots, like the way Storm poses, like the way she stands, he knows how to rock the hips really beautifully.
He does,
and keep it simple and just make good shapes. And yeah, I think Amanda Sefton looks great in this issue. Brick something adds, but Zartan, yeah, he had that makeup, under his cowl.
Oh, under the eyes, right?
Yeah,
that's right.
That was a really weird. I'm a huge early G.I. Joe guy. I love me some Zartan, but
he was the he could change disguises.
Yeah, depending on which version are we talking about, like comic books or cartoon or whatever. Okay. It was varying applications of technology.
Okay.
Whether it was hologram or stupid masks or whatever, but yeah, he was he was their master of disguise kind of guy, and leader of the Dreadnoks and all that stuff.
Right.
But yeah, the I guess it was makeup around his eyes were really bizarre.
Right.
Bizarre choices. He was one of the that's one of the crazy or fun things about Cobra was they were soldiers, but then they also had a bunch of supervillains.
Mm-hmm.
Like Destro is a supervillain.
Sure.
Right? Like he's like a Dr. Doom kind of.
Yeah.
So is Cobra Commander, obviously.
Yeah.
And
mad genius inventor. Whatever.
Yeah. But they had these really over the top personas, and then it was reflected in they had costume design as opposed to tactical gear. And it made them simultaneously appealing and ridiculous.
Yeah, of course. Great villains. Yeah. Great villains.
Yes. Big fan. You saw Angel carried here, Kurt?
Yeah, Stone. After I dropped Candy off at Amanda's, I came back to see if I could find any sort of trail or clue, but the station was crawling with police and paramedics. The token booth clerk had been suddenly taken ill. It could be coincidence, of course, but I doubt it. From what I overheard, the man was barely alive. If he and Candy are any indication, my friends, the opposition plays very rough.
Okay, I'm just taking a look at what that is. Storm has something green with her, and it's really hard to decipher.
Is this Mini Cerebro?
No. Well, Mini Cerebro is on her gauntlet or bracelet.
Okay, all right.
But I'm looking in, as I like to do, the other version, like the... Oh, it probably is just her raincoat.
Oh,
because
okay.
they're putting on raincoats.
So yeah, because look, Kitty's taking one off too.
Right.
Yeah, because they had disguises leaving the apartment.
Fair enough. In the Essentials version, where there's no coloring, right? It's just really clear line work. I can see the sleeves, and I can see the hood, and so that's all it is. It just with the coloring, it looks garbled.
It does.
Tough to tell
for sure.
Jonathan asks, "Is this Paul Smith's first issue?" He isn't on the book or where I am currently at issue-wise. His art has a simplistic vibe, but it is spectacular to look at. Yes, it is simplistic. I agree with you. Or like it comes across that way. And it is beautiful to look at. It's not his first issue. It's maybe about his fifth or sixth.
Mm-hmm.
I feel silly not knowing this off the top of my head. But before we reach the end of the episode today, I will tell you what his first issue is.
Mm-hmm.
Because I'm cool like that.
Absolutely.
As well, if you happen to just look through the videos on the channel, the one that is Paul Smith's first, it's like in the title that it's his first. I'm actually flipping now. Okay, I got it in front of me. It's 165.
I was going to say the Storm transformation cover into.
That's exactly what it is. 165 is his first. So this is his fourth issue.
There you go.
There you go. Very cool.
Mm-hmm.
Look at David Cutler. 165 is his first, I think. End of the Brood saga. You guys, man.
Cutler knows.
Jonathan says he's jealous I'm reading using the Essential Edition. Yeah, I've got the. I'm even in a better state. I've got the original here and the Essentials, and this one was not hard to find for whatever reason. This one with that beautiful Wolverine and Rogue on the cover, they're really worth having. It's volume 4 of X-Men Essentials, and if you get your hands on them, they're always worth it for sure.
Agreed. I picked up the first about a couple of months ago. Check your used bookstore and comic stores out. They appear more often than you think.
Right, but they are out of print.
Yes, exactly. Which is why
I do think they were made in very large numbers. All right. I have a contact on my mini Cerebro within a kilometer laterally, but far below us. I did not realize the city went that deep. Can you perceive Angel's thoughts, Professor? I can hardly hear yours, Storm. Our Psylink has been deteriorating since you went underground. Some forces generating psychic interference of a type I've never encountered. Thus far, I've been unable to overcome it. If you continue, I fear I won't be able to maintain contact.
Here's a parcel, Rodo. Which way?
For Angel's sake, the risk must be taken.
Left it against the wall. A train.
The noise, the filth, the stench. How can the others stand it? How can anyone? It takes all my strength just to keep from screaming. I do not belong here. Really good panel.
You're right, Storm. I know your fear of enclosed spaces.
As a child, Colossus, I was buried alive. That emotional scar was a long time healing. But rest assured, even if my claustrophobia still exists, it is now very much under control. Nightcrawler, take the point. See what is up ahead. Soon? There are indications that Angel's trail leads off to the right, through a solid wall. Perhaps not quite so solid as it appears. Kitty, phase through and see what's there.
I'd ask you to call me by my code name, Storm, if I didn't think it was so dumb.
You used to like Sprite. As I suspected, a door.
Sprite's a kid's name. I'm an X-Man. There are steps here, too. Be careful, though. They're steep and covered in gunk. This place gives me the creeps. Me also. Do people actually live here?
I love that he ducks down,
Yeah.
Like under
They do a lot of size, not joke. I mean, some gags, but also just look at the top panel, how much taller he is than Storm, and top left, and even the top of page on the left-hand side, he's kind of behind that barrier, that steel girder, and he's quite large. So, yeah.
My one wish for this panel where he's ducking down is the back of the door is that, do I dare drop a name and say it's, some a little bit of magenta and a little bit of cyan, maybe 25 of each. But anyway, it should be one color, and then what's behind Colossus should be one even darker.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
So that it is a little more clear that they're coming in out of that space.
Mm-hmm.
That's just a tiny colors thought. Anyway, derelicts, outcasts, people with no place else to go, people who do not want to be found.
Aurora sounds so sad and bitter, like she's speaking from a memory she hates.
Oh yes, little brother. Such as they not only live in the city's lower depths, they thrive.
Intruders!
Get them! And this panel is bonkers.
It is. It's kind of hard to also kind of see what's going on. Like
100%. I love each character is very animated.
Yes.
But there are 8 characters in this small panel. It is.
Yeah.
It's not easy to get all the detail, but you definitely get the motion.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I wonder if if given the opportunity, would it have actually read more more cartoonishly in a good way if they were able to go down the stairs the other direction, like move toward the page flip. Like with reading, have we talked about the term directional device before?
I believe so.
So things that are in the image, like whether it's characters' motion or motion lines or architecture or whatever, light and shadow, can be used to lead the eye from panel to panel in the direction that you want the reader to actually go. So this railing, if this image was mirrored, it goes against, of course, the architecture of the space. But if it was mirrored, then it would lead us from the top left of the panel to the bottom right. To turn the page. Right. And that might have been just a bit of a smoother read. But I do think that this is a fun one. And this also has that feature where, like, because there are these characters, and if it was flipped or mirrored, each one is at like a different stage of the motion down. So it almost animates itself, like the mind does the work from as you read through each character, especially if it was flipped. It would add to the movement and life of the panel to have them, sequentially move. It's good. Almost leaping to being in midair to making contact. Like that's
it is stuff. And it is very has a cartoony feel to it. Yeah, the leaping and the
Yeah, especially the guy who's in midair in the foreground. Exactly. That's very good. Minor delay as it slowly shows up that it's been advanced here. Colossus, the stair railing is collapsing.
Do not worry, Storm. My armored body can easily survive the fall.
It is a strain using my elemental powers underground. But at least this gallery is large enough for me to generate sufficient wind to fly. Kitty, scout the area. We need to know precisely what we are up against.
Storm, do you think these street people are the ones who kidnapped Angel? If they are, why'd they do it?
That is for you to discover, Katya. So scoot. Be careful, you guys.
I hate her costume.
What's that?
I hate it. I don't like her costume at all. I don't like the color scheme. I don't like her kiss makeup mask. I don't like any of it. Except for I like Paul Smith's drawing. And she's also a good fighter now.
Yeah, right away, right? She engages. There's no shine. There's no it's great.
It's not just landing a punch. It's also she's got a hold of the guy's left arm and the punch.
Yeah, exactly. You see, and speaking of Nightcrawler earlier, he does a couple of bamps in one panel to get from the top to the bottom.
Yeah, that's nice.
It's pretty great.
Yeah, there's a lot of dudes there.
There are. Be careful, you guys. Your concern is admirable, little one, but misplaced.
And here we get, of course, the obligatory, explanation as to who the characters are, because this is somebody's first comic, right?
Mm-hmm.
As a human being, Peter Rasputin possesses phenomenal strength. But when he transforms himself to organic steel, he becomes well nigh irresistible and unstoppable. A fact which does not go unnoticed by hidden, hostile eyes.
Should we be fighting them, Cal? They're mutants, like us.
Not like us, Sunder. They pretty, hate 'em, want to hurt 'em.
Be patient, Masque. You'll get your chance. For the moment, we wait and watch to learn what their powers are and how they use them. We'll lure our guest deeper into the alley, and then we'll nail him.
Peter, wow. From Kenny's description, that big creep has to be Sunder. He's huge.
Huge.
Why aren't they
huge? He's huge.
Why aren't they joining the fight? Are they planning a trap? I'll edge closer to hear all I can before warning Storm.
Ascent. Girl. Young, clean. Outsider.
Uh-oh, I've been spotted. But how?
Plague, she's yours.
I don't know if these people can hurt me, but with names like theirs, I don't want to find out. My arm, I was phasing, but it tingled when that old lady passed through me. What'd you do to it?
I can't touch her. The girl's a ghost.
That wall won't keep us from her. Stand aside, Plague.
When I was a kid, I thought her name was Plaque, or his name was Plaque.
Well, you know what? Plaque is a great super villain, I think. We need to.
I agree.
So one thing that I just wanted to point out, as we see the top panel in these Morlocks. So as you know, I've been rewatching the X-Men animated series from the 90s, and season 1 just finished season 1, and the Morlocks episodes, I think it's 3 or 4. It's pretty close to the beginning, and the depictions of Sunder and Callisto and let's call them Plague, and it's an older woman. They're almost exactly these 4. Like
Yes,
the hat, the toque with the hood, the purple, like it's almost that's like, to me, it was actually quite impressive to see a pretty literal translation of this first appearance of them.
Yeah.
On screen in that manner. I mean, a little different, but still like color schemes like that. Sunder has that color scheme and like a bit of a yellow scarf and a green jacket.
Yeah, it works.
Yeah. Anyway, that was kind of neat.
Trevor says, always thought Callisto would have been played by Chrissy Hynde in the early 80s. I think you got something there, man.
Yeah.
I think especially when we see John Romita Jr. draw her, I think she gets even more toward Chrissy Hynde. That's the heavy bangs, right?
Yeah,
and the high cheekbones. Those two pieces really do that.
Mm-hmm.
That'd be cool.
Yeah.
I wonder if there's anything to that, but that's cool.
Now, Callisto does show up in the movies.
Oh, dude. Yeah, of course.
Is it twice? She showed up twice?
We get her
In
a version of her in X3.
You get a version of X3 where
And I forget the actress's name, but she also had a good arc on Sopranos.
Okay.
As AJ's girlfriend for a bit.
Okay. And she kind of like move quickly. It's kind of like
yeah, she's able to have a read on mutants' abilities,
right?
Like their power levels, and they gave her super speed.
That's it. They gave. That's right. And then does she show up as part in a Dark Phoenix? Is she like Magneto's kind of? It's almost like a paramour, but like right hand from. Do you know what I mean? She gets taken out in the train sequence, but
oh man, I actually off the top of my head I can't remember now.
Okay.
I think someone in the chat will be able to give us some support on this one. I don't remember what mutants are there with Magneto, with Fassbender's Magneto and Dark Phoenix.
There's a girl and a dude who whips his hair around, and then the X-Men.
Yeah, the guy who whips his dreads, like
that guy.
Long.
Yeah, what's that guy's name? Whiplash. Dreads?
I don't know. I don't know.
I don't know. Okay.
That movie did not inspire me.
Come on, chat. Help us out here.
So you know how that movie did not inspire me to want to read more X-Men.
Right.
It was like quite the opposite. Like, X-Men.
But I have rewatched that scene. It's on YouTube. It's like, X-Men fight Dark Phoenix, because there's some really great, like I think I've talked to you about this before, where it demonstrates Magneto as field leader, and he's like directing Kurt and Hank, right, in this battle, and it seems to, it really works. It really works, and he does so much cool stuff with metal that it's really, I mean, it's so cheesy and silly from a movie perspective, but like he just does all these different things with metal, whether he cuts people up or crushes them or does things, these aliens, right? And then as part of that battle, she kind of gets kicked off the train, but it's a fun one to rewatch on YouTube. It's a 5-minute sequence. Anyway.
Right.
There you go.
David says the hair guy should be called
Dreadlock.
Nice. So this is, I think, the panel on the bottom with Sunder making a shunk. Yeah. This is the first panel in this issue that was used for the official handbook, Marvel Universe.
Oh, okay.
This was like a Morlocks panel. Gotcha. And there are a few in this that were used. So I had never seen these panels except for in that particular in the Marvel official Marvel handbook,
Marvel Universe book that Xavier's reading at the beginning.
Yes, very meta.
Very meta.
Let us continue.
And what will you do if you catch her, oh grand and glorious Lemmick? If she can walk through walls, your fist won't do her much damage. Let her run. She won't get far. If a single molecule of the disease plague manifested remains on the girl's person when she solidifies, she's as good as dead.
And this is the second panel. This one of Nightcrawler going across.
Oh, that was also used in the...
Yeah, man, that is like an infamous one in my head. I've known this
like
panel as long as I can remember.
Very
Meanwhile...
Pleasant dreams, mein Herren. Anybody need assistance? I'm available.
Thanks for the offer, Nightcrawler, but I have the situation well at hand. Winds of the sewer smell like... Yeah.
Goddess. The assault broke off as suddenly as it began. Do you think we frightened them away?
They took their unconscious brethren with them, so we have no one to question. Not a good sign. I think this was a probe to test our strength.
Storm, where is Sprite? Should she not have returned by this time? Should we look for her?
How, Kurt? Where? We have no way of pinpointing her location or following her trail. My mini Cerebro is set for Angel. I cannot recalibrate it. Our only option is to press on after him and hope for the best.
We cannot desert her, Storm. Don't you care?
You dare ask that of me, Colossus? I love Kitty as I would my own daughter. I sent her on that reconnaissance. If she is lost, the blame is mine. But so long as I am in charge, so long as your lives are my responsibility, I must think of the whole, not the one, whatever the cost.
She didn't answer Peter's question, and her manners is so cold and distant. I've never seen her like this. Impossible as it sounds, could he be right? Storm, we're badly outnumbered. Might reinforcements not be advisable?
How do we summon them? Our sonic and radio links with Professor Xavier are being jammed. If we retreat to the surface, assuming that is even possible, what then happens to our friends? Finally, Kurt, who do we summon? X-Men are few and far between.
So we're on our own.
As always. Okay, quick sidebar here. This is maybe one of the more recent signs of Storm's character development towards something other than warm, happy, naive, foreigner coming to the team. Like, this is a person who's making logical decisions, thinking objectively, and maybe getting ready for a rebrand. Interesting.
Very interesting.
However, as the X-Men press on...
Guys, I'm afraid I don't feel so good.
Sprite child. Caliban sent strangers in his home. It gladdened his heart to recognize one among them as his beloved Kitty Pryde. But her life flame burns so low, illness consumes her. This is Plague's doing. Caliban has thought never to see the Sprite child again. He will not find her only to lose her. He will care for her, heal her. She will come to see how much he loves her. Then she will love him too. And they will live happily ever after.
Elsewhere?
By the White Wolf, a tunnel.
Thanks, Captain Obvious.
And not just a tunnel, like a space age something or other.
I don't get it, but we'll go with it.
Right.
Visually, it works. Narratively, I don't know how you get a tunnel that looks like that down there.
Well, right. It's like they keep going lower.
Yeah.
So then what the hell is this thing, right?
It's a John Byrne style tunnel.
Yeah, it is. And it's huge.
Yeah.
Magnificent. We must be over 1,000 feet beneath the city. And although everything about us reeks of age, it is so well maintained that it might have been constructed only yesterday. I wonder how far it reaches.
I wonder if this is Claremont setting up something that we don't know about yet.
That would be my assumption.
Like Apocalypse is down there, you know?
Right, exactly. Something, right?
Yeah. Neat. You know what they're going to find down there? And this is not a good idea. They're going to find a dragon skeleton that they can then harness the marrow from to become immortal underneath a building so that they can go back and kill everyone in Iron Fist's homeland. And we should make a 12-part Netflix series about going down and finding a cheap model of dragon bones underneath New York. We should call it Defenders. And nothing should happen for about 8 of those 12 episodes. What do you think? Good idea?
Go on. Tell me more about this great idea of yours.
Guess what I recently restreamed?
And why?
While I was working to see if there was anything at all redeeming about it. Guess what I watched?
What? Defenders?
Dragon Bones. Yeah, I watched Defenders again. Well, I mean, I listened to most of it because there wasn't a lot to see. But I was really in the mood for some Matt Murdock.
Yeah, of course.
And I knew I wanted to watch season 3 of Daredevil, the Born Again season.
Yeah.
And it leads right up to it. So I kind of wanted to put myself back at the starting point of that. And man, that was a waste of time. Cool. Suddenly.
Make no move, intruders, or be struck down where you stand. A woman's voice stirred those lights so blinding I cannot see.
That's the idea, my friend. Any orders, Storm?
Stay loose, both of you. We shall let our hosts make the next move. I am Storm, leader of the X-Men. We come in peace, seeking a friend.
You mean Angel? Then you're in luck. Here he is.
That railroad car. We were so dazzled. Wait, is the Dazzler here? We were so dazzled by the lights and booming loudspeakers, we did not notice its approach. You witch! What have you done to him?
Or is that Nightcrawler?
I don't know.
I think it's Nightcrawler.
You witch! What have you done to him?
I am Callisto. My brethren have taken the name Morlocks after H.G. Wells' rulers of the Netherworld. This is our domain. You visit at your peril, and when you address me, you keep a civil tongue in your head or lose it. As for why Angel's here, every princess must have a prince, and for me, who more fitting than the most beautiful man in all the world?
In a diaper.
She did such a thing out of love.
No, Peter. Desire. Quite a different thing altogether. When I was 12, I saw a man so gaze at me. A prize to be won, an object to be possessed. My emotions, my wishes meant nothing. Had I fought, my spirit would have been broken. I would have been used, then slain. So instead, I ran away from all that I knew and loved, never to return. Hold on, what is she saying here?
Right.
Is she saying that she was basically running away from being raped?
Something along those lines, I think.
And that's like a turning point in her journey, you know?
Right.
Is that how you're reading that?
I'm reading it as when she was 12, there was some attention given her, and by right, she was scared of it, and so she
and so she ran,
and she
you
ran.
know, one other just comic book note here or whatever, drawing note. All 3 characters don't have pupils on this panel,
right?
And it's just I don't know. That's my whole story.
That's interesting.
Storms usually comes and goes depending if her powers are on or not.
Mm-hmm.
Not just when, I mean, obviously that's in the cartoon, that's in the movies. That's like one of the things that is in every iteration of her.
Yeah, her eyes get cloudy.
Or they become bright. You know, you can see with the Halle Berry version, they got cloudy.
Cloudy.
I always imagine they just become like crystal. They're like energized.
Right.
But anyway.
Make yourselves comfortable, X-Men. You're just in time to witness a most solemn ceremony. Our tunnels are vast, especially the alley here, but there's still no place for a flyer. I wouldn't want him to flutter about in the dark and maybe hurt himself. So I'll simply make sure he can't.
She's clipping Angel's pin feathers. Without them, he's crippled. He cannot fly.
You two, free him. I'll deal with his lady captor.
Morlocks, to me! All right, here we go. Rough him up as much as you like, but I want him alive. I'll have the hide off whoever disobeys.
Oh, sorry, right. This panel looks like it's getting a disproportionate amount of attention as a drawer. Like there's more rigor put into this panel than many others, so I'm not surprised that like maybe panel 3 is like a little less content because you're getting so much bang for your buck in panel 1. Really, really strong.
Oh yeah, and
like that should be your Marvel universe, the Morlocks,
right? Totally.
You know,
totally.
And remember I was mentioning about directional devices. Mm-hmm. So again, reading from left to right. This is moving from left to right, and it is fantastic.
And what's interesting so far is, again, I mean, just to compare against the animated series version is, you know, when they square off the X-Men and the Morlocks, you know, the Morlocks are mutants, so they have different powers, receive different power sets. You know, one throws like a clay kind of, you know, concrete. One can subject someone to believe there's something with someone else or might be sick, whatever. You know, I think Wolverine's like, scorpions! Got scorpions all over me! Scorpions! Which is great. And so far in this issue, they're just like a rabble of bruisers. Right? Like even like Cyclops, like no one's using powers against them. They're just overwhelming in numbers.
Sure.
So it'll be interesting to see how that plays out maybe in later issues.
Yes, I'm interested too.
Yeah.
Really great panel though. Colossus, get Nightcrawler to safety. Callisto's army appears formidable, but my winds and few well-placed lightning bolts should scatter them.
Don't bet on that, sweetie.
Ow!
You never see the slingshot coming, I'll tell you that much.
Yeah, knocking that thing in the tiara right off her head.
Exactly.
And then this Colossus panel of him reaching up. This is another Marvel Universe panel.
It's pretty great.
Jason Lowe says, Pat Benatar's Love is a Battlefield playing in the background. Good call. Good call, man.
Yeah, 100%. This is not going well. I am pulling my punches. I do not wish to cause these unfortunates any injury. Pity they do not return the compliment.
The young Russian makes a valiant effort. But in the end, without knowing why, for his armored body should have made him impervious to the Morlock's blows, he is overwhelmed. She sees a light. It hurts. She hears breathing, panting gasps that barely stir the air in her lungs. She tries to think, and the effort sets her world spinning madly around her. Her head throbs, her joints ache, her body is soaked in what we hope is sweat. She's smothered in quilts and blankets, and yet she's quivering uncontrollably, unable to feel their warmth.
Where am I? Anybody home? No, guess not.
Jonathan says Paul Smith and Bob Wiacek, they kill it on these 2 pages. Yes, they do.
Yeah.
And stuff. Wednesday Night Reviews. Conrad is here. Good evening, folks. How are you, Conrad? Hope you are well. She tries to get out of bed. And her body immediately rebels.
I'm sick. Scratch that. I'm real sick. Can't remember when I felt so awful. Mom, did you undress me and put me to bed? That's not right. This isn't my room. I haven't seen Mom since Hanukkah. I was with the X-Men. They left me behind all by myself. Why'd they do that?
Sprite child, you should not be on your feet.
That voice, I know it, but can't remember. So hard to think. So dizzy. Floor won't stay still. Aurora!
The Kitty Pride is delirious. Caliban's medicines have not helped. Plague's attack must have been deadlier than Caliban suspected. She's burning up with fever. Caliban's beloved is dying. No, no! That Caliban will not allow. She will recover. Caliban will defy Callisto herself and force Plague to heal her. The Kitty Pride will know then that it was Caliban who saved her. She will share his home and his life and remain with him in the catacombs forever.
To be continued. Will she stay in the catacombs with Caliban forever?
Tune in.
Will Angel fill his diaper or get a fresh change?
Will Nightcrawler ever finish his evening with Amanda?
Or was his place with Amanda supplanted by a dragon?
By a dragon. Normally we get not just a to be continued, but to be continued next issue in Angel's diaper has been filled. And there's like a big tagline. We don't get that this time.
No, we do not. But we do get X-Mail.
X-Mail.
We get the first message, by the way, is either from Louis C.K.
Yep.
or Craig C.K., who, by the way, is just C.K. because his name is Craig Kimball. So I believe it has to be one of those two, right? Because both of them were living on an air base in Turkey at the time. Dustin Leary, I don't know Dustin, in Moorhead City. Brian D. Smith from the Pentagon. Oh, that's so good. And they had an issue where they went to the Pentagon recently.
They did, yeah.
Right?
They did.
I should read his letter. He's got a whole bunch of questions. I think that might be a fun one to read. I'll do that on my own time. And Brian J. Lind from St. Paul, Minnesota. Now, if you'll indulge me, would you flip the next page?
Of course.
This lock and chase.
Yeah.
On the Intellivision. Please tell me, are you too young to remember Intellivision?
No, I was around.
Okay. It was really special. It was like one of the first three, home. Thanks, dog. One of the first few game systems that I would see at friends' houses. This one, ColecoVision, and the Atari.
Sure.
And then would you flip it one more?
Uh-huh.
Look at that.
Jedi Arena.
Become a Jedi Master without ever leaving your home. Like, look at the quality of that game. Oh my god.
Is it like Pong with Jedi lightsaber? That's what it looks like.
And you're just blocking bolts from the training droid, right?
Yeah.
That little ball.
Yeah.
I, of course, wanted that desperately. Anything with Star Wars on it.
You wanted to train to be a Jedi. I get it.
I still do, man. I still do.
Yeah.
Luke looks so good there. That's so cool. Yes, Trevor says that the ad looked way cooler than the game. It was lame. Yes, it very much was lame.
It was lame.
And Jonathan says, I owned it in Intellivision. Yeah, I remember the controllers for things like Intellivision and ColecoVision were just so awkward. But again, it was really special at the time to have these video game systems, because before that, for guys like me of my vintage, we had the arcade you could go to, and they only had a few games, or there was those table ones at the pizza joints, like where's Pac-Man.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, no idea.
Yeah. Jason says Luke sporting power shoulder pads. Yeah. Sometimes when they draw that, his tunic, it has more point in the shoulder or less, depending on Jedi Master shoulder pads. Yeah, that's true, especially at that level. So there you go. That is issue 169 of Uncanny X-Men. Just to plug, next week, of course, we will be reading God Loves, Man Kills with special guest Hoche Anderson. And I've got a version of it here in weird black and white.
Okay.
Inside this one, but I also have the graphic novel. Have you yourself, sir, got a copy yet?
Is it on the DVD?
I don't know. You've got the DVD. I don't. I imagine it's not. I imagine it's not on the DVD.
Okay.
But I might just hook you up with a digital version, or at least a website where you can get it. But I'm wondering what strategy we should use to show it here.
Do we have? So if we have scans, we can. So that takes care of that. But if we don't have scans,
yes, that means it has to be a comic book. I will have to find a version online and then create a slideshow out of it.
Yes. Is it a like a double issue kind of thing?
Issue? It's a graphic novel, dude.
Right, there you go.
It is. Well, you can see in this. It's the black pages. So I actually don't know how many pages it is. I wouldn't be surprised if it's about 50.
Is it 1983?
Yeah.
Okay. I wonder if it is.
I mentioned before, it doesn't fit nicely into continuity.
And it's not like it's not numerically numbered. It's not like numbered sequentially.
Well, it is numbered. It is numbered sequentially as one of the graphic novels, but not within X-Men ordering. So it most likely is not on that on that DVD-ROM.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know how many pages that is. It will be. We might spend less time talking about it and more time just reading through it, so that we don't have a 4-hour episode.
That's
probably double the size. And if we do find that it's going too long, we of course can call it and read the rest of it the following week.
Mm-hmm.
But if you don't have a copy and you want to borrow mine, I'm happy to see if one day this week I can get it to you.
Okay, I'll let you know.
Yeah, we'll talk about it. Maybe not in front of an audience. But did you enjoy this issue, Chris?
I did. I think the art is great.
Yeah.
And, we get some, as we're moving forward, we get some more mature versions of these characters. So we get the Nightcrawler, using his power set at the beginning to bamf through the sky in New York to figure out what he's going to do. It's great. We get Storm being very strategic as field leader. It's interesting when Wolverine's not in a book because we're so drawn to that character for a number of reasons, and when he's not there, the books take on such a different flavor. It was funny to see yet another kitty costume. But the Morlocks, it leads it to wanting to read the next issue, which is really, I think, probably the ultimate, goal of your comic is for people to know, I can't wait to read the next issue. It comes out next month. Yeah.
Agreed. I want to see what happens. I get the feeling from it that this is a 2-issue arc, but I don't actually know because I have not read ahead yet. Mm-hmm. And it reminds me, they're going to get there. So they're captured. And I can just picture, how is it going to play out? That they're going to assess the threat now that they're behind bars or whatever those figurative bars are. And they're going to make a plan to get out and turn the tables,
Or will it follow the execution of the animated series? Where
did the animated series follow it?
Well, that's right, but where Storm challenges Callisto for power lore, of the Morlocks, leader of the Morlocks, in hand-to-hand single combat. But of course, in that episode, it's not Angel, it's Cyclops, who has been captured as Callisto's bow. Right.
I should probably watch those again, but that's what's going to happen.
I mean, you don't have to.
I've seen the cover of the next issue.
Okay.
I have it, but I've never read it. So I really like the idea. Okay, so she's going to challenge, assuming everyone here kind of knows where that's going to go. I like the idea that Storm starts to build this portfolio. Like she's this and she's this, and then she's going to continue to build. And that all adds to, we're going to get this shift in her appearance soon. And it's going to be a reflection of these other things that are in her world, that she's no longer just this, naive superhero. She's more things.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I like that idea that there's more to her. Very cool.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, there you go. All right.
There you go.
Anything you want to talk about? Anything you want to plug?
No, I think.
What about comics?
You got anything you want to plug? Our comics.
You can find these at www.groupofsevencomics.ca, and of course it's the number 7. And this is these are the first couple issues of the Peregrines series, as well as some one-shots. Most notably, the newest one, Peregrine's Hunter's Moon, which we debuted on Instagram in December, and has been up for print since the end of May. And, it's a good one. I just like looking at the back in color. It's just cute. Nice to add. But yeah, that's available now. You can find that on our site. We got some appearances coming up. I know I will be at the Toying Around Toy Collector Tailgate at Heroes World on the 12th of August. It's a Sunday, I think. And I will be at, what's it called? Nerdcore in Hamilton. The week after. Doing an in-store there. And still kind of hoping for that update on Fan Expo. I did reach out, by the way, this week.
Okay.
And where we talked about last time, you and I, is where we still are.
Okay.
Orbiting, hovering, holding pattern.
Orbiting.
Holding pattern for Fan Expo. And then September.
Yeah, the fall, you can catch us in Guelph, Ontario. You can catch us in Cambridge, Ontario, and Whitby, Ontario. So we've got a few shows lined up in the fall.
Very nice. You were about to say something else. What were you going to say? Was it about Fan Expo or something?
No, I think I was just
Jonathan says
orbiting is the way. Yeah.
Very fun issue. Glad I stuck around with you guys for this episode. We're glad you stuck around too, Jonathan. Thanks for being
John.
here, and thank you for contributing and adding something to our evening. It's good to hang out with you. Trevor says, great episode and issue. Great because of people like you, Trevor. So
there's something about these Paul Smith issues that is. I mean, I don't know. I mean, we've talked a lot about our preferences on art and storytelling, but there's something about the Smith Claremont team up that is there's something special there.
It also there are no characters pre Giant Size X-Men #1.
Right.
Like Xavier wasn't even real. I mean, he's the voice there, but he's not like really in the issue. It's just like the new kids, right? Just doing their thing. And I think that's it feels like a fresh team. It really is nice. Jason says, fingers crossed on Fan Expo. Thanks, Jason. We can use all the little bit of help we can get. Yeah. Weird time. All right, Chris, man. Let's call it a night. Thank you all for being with us. We really appreciate it. You can find us on all the social medias. We have our Instagram handles on screen now. You're at Chris Sanagan, and I'm at Jason Lapidus Art on Instagram. Find us, of course, at Group of 7 Comics on Instagram and on the Facebook. And, we if you aren't already following us, please do. Give the video a like and a subscribe if you could. Share if you want to. If it helps us out. We're always looking to continue to grow our reach, and any comments you can add, all that stuff is a great deal of support. Yeah, you're right, Trevor. The distinct lack of misters is nice. I miss laughing about the use of misters, but it does make the writing better to not have like those old kind of cliches in the issue, or kind of growing new ones. So it's nice to kind of be there for something that feels a little bit more fresh.
Yeah.
All right, everyone. Thank you very much. Have a wonderful Tuesday night, and we will see you next week on Previously an X-Men. And go watch that animated series. Go watch Dark Phoenix and figure out, is Callisto in that? Or who is that other character?
Who is that?
I don't know either.
Make sure to enjoy the performance of Dreadlock.
Good call. All right, everyone. Take care. Have a good night.